Today we have the newest from Hunkydory called Bohemian Bliss, and Heidi has been having an absolute wonderful time playing with these. So before we get started, let me ask you, come play with us. Okay, before I get into the cards, I just want to give you an overview of what this is. So the Bohemian Bliss is going to begin with a fabulous topper collection, and you know that this has the adorable scoreable, the foiled, all of that. There's included also the inserts, which are the ghosted back images, plus what I love is some of the printed parchment, and then also the adorable scoreable, the solid colors, and then in addition there's an 8x8 paper pad. Okay, let me scoot these away and let's get into our first card, and we'll get a little bit closer so you can really see this. Now this is on our regular size card, so it's going to measure 5 by 6.5 inches. And what Heidi has done is she has taken one of the sheets. Now this is one of the foiled sheets, and if you'll notice that foiling is kind of a burgundy color, really rich and pretty. And she's taken this and she's turned it just like I'm holding it, and she's cut this down, and the measurements are down below in the gallery. And then she has matted it on two of the colors from the adorable scoreable sheet, and that is on the dark pink first and then on the light pink second. Now this one, before she glued it, she wrapped around this ivory ribbon. Now this happens to be rickrack, but it is part of the ivory ribbon collection. You can kind of see it. Well, maybe you can, right there in the package. And so she wrapped it, and Heidi often does a wrap like this, and you can cut it into two pieces and then just glue them to the back. Before she attached this to do the matting, she foam taped it to the dark pink and then to the light pink, and that just works out beautifully. Now this is one of the die cuts on the sheet. This is the full sheet. Again, you can see that really pretty burgundy foiling, and you can see this is the piece that she used, and she also put this on foam tape, did a little bow out of that rickrack, and then where the rickrack crossed, just below the center point, she foam taped another piece, and it's the piece that's right there. Then on the inside, now as you know, those insert sheets are ghosted back images of the adorable scoreable. So let me turn this so you can see. So you see how ghosted back that is. Now yes, this is so pretty and you get the foiling, but this has its purpose too. And this is exactly where that comes in. So, yes, sorry, give me a moment here. Okay. There we are. So sorry. You can see that this is the piece that she used, and this is how she turned it on its side to go on the inside of a card. Now the rest of this is also from that die cut sheet with the foiled pieces. So there's a border that's going to go horizontally. Here is another of the die cuts, just glued straight down. And then the I Believe in You is also just glued straight down, another little bow, and you're done. Now for this card, you've only used 4 of the pieces on this sheet, and there are multiple sheets in the package. So that's really, really nice. So that begins our first card. Now, let me show you something else that Heidi has done. It's some really different image. Now, she called this a poof, okay? So you see this piece right here? Well, we'll get to that in just a moment, but let's get started with the card first. Now, as you look at this card, just notice number one, it is a 5-inch square card. So that's the first step, is to take your 5 by 6.5 inch card and cut it down to 5 inches square. That works well. Now see the layering that's gone on underneath all of this beautifulness on top? Well, that is created by using this. Of course, this is the die cut sheet, the toppers. And what Heidi has done is she's going to use this in the center, and so that's the one that you're seeing. But she's also going to use the solid foiled border and then the frame that's on the outside. Now the outside frame is going to get glued onto some of our metallic gold paper. Now this is not cardstock. This is gold. It's nicely shiny, and it is 12 by 12. And so she's going to glue that together, and then she's going to mat it onto one of the 8 by 8 sheets. Now it is this one, which is also going to be similar in style and color to the printed parchment. But this is going to become the largest mat. So those layers are behind here, okay? Now, let's get to that poof. Now, she's going to take the parchment, and like I said, this is similar in color and in design to the 8 by 8, but this is the parchment. Now, this is a 5-inch square, and then what she did, and so with parchment, one side is richer in color because that's the printed side. The other side, as you can see, is duller, okay? Now we're going to turn this so that the dull side is up. We're doing that because we want to bring these in to create the poof, okay? Technical term, you might want to write that down. Now, what Heidi recommends is to put the extra sticky tape on the corners. Now, to make it faster for this, I'm going to use our little tape runner. So I'm just going to put a piece, or just run a little piece at each corner. Okay. Now I'm going to lock that in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring these into the corner. Now see on the card, these are about 3/8 of an inch wide, and I think that's the best measurement to give you. So you want to bring them in and just let them sit. So they're about 3/8 of an inch wide, right there, okay? Then we're going to do the same thing on the other end, and I'm going to do the same thing with this glue, okay? And going to bring it in same exact way. Whoops. And just let it lay there. These are gonna kind of line up. Okay, so that's what you have. So it's about 3/8 of an inch everywhere. Don't worry if it's slightly wider or smaller. It truly is going to be fine. So you've got a square. We're going to turn it on point, and that's going to be the next layer on your card. Nice. The last layer, you know what? I forgot to tell you something. Let me go back just a moment. This outer frame that goes on the gold, I am so sorry, I forgot to tell you this. This is going to get cut in half because that is going to need to spread, okay? So you'll see that in the directions, so I just wanted to mention that. Then the poof is going to nicely cover up that separation that you've just done, and that's going to go right there. Now for the top layer, Heidi used both the burgundy outside and the center. So she kept them together and glued them on top of the poof. And then she also did some embellishing. So in the corners of the one at the bottom, she's put the jewel dazzles, and she's put some within the flowers of that little wreath. And then you see right here, that of course is our thin line dazzles. And this is just a great example of how lovely those just add a beautiful touch. You can see the difference between the sheet that does not have them and the sheet that does. Isn't that just really nice? Then for her accent on her bow, of course, she's going to go into the light pink ribbon pack, and that's going to all come together really, really nicely. So we have a poof as a new technique, and pretty simple to do, I will tell you. Now let's go to a slimline card. And what Heidi has done is some fun things here. Again, she wanted to use that parchment. You see that ghosted area? You kind of look like, what's in there? Well, that's some parchment, but she did this in a really interesting manner. So for the front of her card, in fact, this is a slimline card, she has taken, and I'm gathering it over here. Okay, there it is. She has taken her slimline card. Now our slimline cards measure 8.5 by 3.5, so that's a really nice size. And she has taken this piece of the foiled adorable scorable. Do you see the foiling just flashing there? Really pretty. There you go. Now on this side there is that heart. On this side, this is the area that she used to cover the front of her card. She really saved this maybe to use on something else. And this piece is going to get attached to the front of her card, but before she glued it down completely, she wanted to create the aperture, this opening. And to do that, she used our 12 rectangle and scalloped cutting dies. So she used the one that is 3.5 inches wide. So what she did is you can do this two different ways. You can tack down the adorable scoreable to your card front, or you can just glue down the left side. So whichever you prefer. But in any case, you want to keep this right side separate so the two pieces can be separated. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. So after you secure the left side down, open this up and place your cutting die right there and run it through your machine. Then come back and you're going to cut a piece of the parchment. Now it's this piece, it kind of looks like it's water stained, and this piece is going to go right here. So you'll lift up the piece of adorable scoreable, put your parchment down, glue it in place, and then glue the rest of this down. That way you've got a clean inside to your card. Just a nice way to finish that off, okay? Then she used one of the scallop of the rectangle, okay, these two, to create that scallop to go on top of her window, and that works really nicely. Now, to do this piece, she has matted these, and she took them off of this sheet. So the Wild and Free and With Heartfelt Thanks have been matted on a light pink that is in the adorable scoreable. In fact, I showed it to you on the first card, and that's going to get matted. They're going to get foam taped. She's going to do a bow out of the brown ribbon set. You know, something when you are placing that cutting die, especially on areas that are partially attached, but you will want to use something like this. We use the Hunkydory low tack tape. It just doesn't pull off our papers, so it's something that we really like to use. Now let's go to the inside of our card, and for the inside, she has covered it with some paper. And this paper is from the 8x8 sheet. Did you hear me rummaging, trying to find it? And this is going to go right there. But first, she covered the inside of her card with the same pink that she used right here. So that just, you know, creates a continuity to it, and that works nicely. So she's covered it. We call that covering it, the inside of her card with the pink. And then she's taken this piece and she's cut it down to go into the center. And then this piece is what she got on the other side. So one side is all of those feathers, the other side is that heart. So that's nice. So this got cut out. Again, you can use the rectangle, and then she did use that scalloped rectangle with this of the adorable scoreable to make a nice frame for it. These two tags are also on the same sheet, you can see right there, as well as You're the Best. Now these two were placed like so. This is, and they're glued right down. This is foam taped. I want to tell you that this ribbon is just knotted very simply because we've got more stuff on this side of the front of the card, and we don't want to get it to get too bulky. So really nice that we have kind of a peekaboo card, don't we? And you could use any of the parchments on there. It's just really, really nice. Okay, we have one last card. Let me reach for it. And here it is. This again is going to go into the 5x5 card size. So that's going to work. And so you just trim it down. Now Heidi's done a couple of things here that I think are really interesting. To begin with, she cut a piece of the pink adorable scoreable to be on the front of her card. But because she wanted to give a little extra finish, she took our silver hammered and she cut a strip that was 1.5 inches wide and laid it from this corner to this corner. So she laid it at a strong diagonal and then just trimmed the ends to finish with the card. Glued that in place, And then she took this piece. Now this is also from the 8x8 adorable, or excuse me, 8x8 paper pad, and she cut it down just to fit, matted it on this dark gray that is in the adorable scorable. You see how everything works together, and foam taped this on top. The other thing she did that I think is just a really nice technique is that she took the thin line dazzles. Now you saw them earlier used in gold. There's black, white, and silver in here. This time she's playing with the silver. So the silver she just did on one corner, and she didn't even go to the end. Do you see how that just goes almost about an inch from the end? So it just really is a nice, you've got silver hammered, you've got silver dazzles, more dazzles, you've got a silver bow right there. So everything coordinates. The dazzles that are there that say just for you, those come from the more greetings dazzles. Whoops, I need to show you that side, not my note on the back. And again, this is black, white, gold, and silver. So just for you is the message. Really nice to let it incorporate with the imagery. And that bow is, of course, as you would imagine, coming from the gold and silver pack. So even though this is, you know, one of the papers that's been matted, there's some extra things that have been done, and I really appreciate that, Heidi. Good for you. Now, on the inside of her card, she took that same 8x8 paper, and you get multiple copies of each one, and first covered the inside of her card with the same adorable scorable that she used on the front. And then she cut this piece, give you the measurements in the gallery. And then she took a darker pink, that's one of the other adorable scorables, placed it here, and then just did a narrow piece of the silver hammered right there. Now, these dazzles come from the fancy border dazzles. Again, black, white, gold, silver. You can see she's done the same technique. Now on the front of her card, she did the corner on the left. On the inside of her card, she did the corner on the right. It just works very nicely. The thank you is right there from the greetings dazzles, another little bow right there, and that just takes care of it. So you've seen Bohemian Bliss in just a lot of methods. Again, we have the topper collection. We have the inserts that you've seen so nicely used, the parchment, ditto that, the adorable scorable, of course, and the 8x8, all of that. And my whole table is covered, and there are my notes. You're not supposed to see those. Okay, there we go. So this is all together, all available now. And thank you, Heidi. You did a great job. Love to see that creativity shining through, and love to have you with us. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, come on over to paperwishes.com. On the right side of your screen, you'll see a money saver. So we might as well give you an extra bonus if you want to get the whole collection, but you can buy individual pieces too. As I mentioned, down below at paperwishes.com, there are the directions and all of the measurements, so you don't have to try to remember as I was going through them. And just want to thank you so much for joining us and for being, as I always say, and it is always true, you are the very best part of paperwishes.com.